In this video, you're going to learn how intellectual property powers video games and why they matter to you gamers. Yo, what's up you guys? I'm the Nerdy One and this is the channel where I use video games to make sense of the blockchain. In today's video, you're going to learn about the importance of IP or intellectual property in the development of future video games. Now, not only is this information super interesting to know about, but it's also something that you yourself can take advantage of. So I'm really excited to dive into this video, so make sure you smash that like button to show me some support and let's get into it. Oh, and before I forget though, I'm currently holding a giveaway, so make sure you stick all the way through the video to understand how to get entered in it. So IP or intellectual property is essentially the way that an idea or a creation is actually owned. Now, some IPs are so powerful, so iconic that you can kind of identify just by color scheme alone. This is actually a really cool test called the rectangle test. I'll just give you guys a second here and check it out. You know, how many of these characters can you tell just by these rectangles with colors in them? Now that's the power of IPs. Make sure you leave down your answers in the comments below. So when we think about video games, the most obvious applications of IP are on the gaming characters. So let's just take a moment and think about some really iconic gaming characters. So the first one that comes to mind for me has to be Mario. To me, Mario. Oh, that was terrible. And you know, other examples of this is Link, Donkey Kong, Pikachu. Pikachu is a great one there. I love Pokemon. And you see, all these characters are so iconic. And if you think about the games that they come from, these games had huge success. You know, just using Mario as an example, you know, I remember playing him way back in the Game Boy days. You know, it was just like little pixelated guy, you know, going left to right. But he has come a long way. You know, he has racing games, he has, you know, sport video games, he has a fighting video game. It's crazy. People play games because Mario is it. And you know, who exactly is Mario? He really is just, you know, an Italian plumber who has an addiction to mushrooms, who throws fireballs, and is strangely always late to saving the princess. But people just fell in love with Mario, and you know, with the company Nintendo building up the IP of Mario, you can kind of see the potential that a successful IP can have on the future of a game. So how does this apply to you? Well, if you're not aware, there is a current shift, a current narrative going on in the gaming world, and that all comes from the emergence of NFTs. Now, if you're new to the video, make sure you check out this video up above to hear my take on what NFTs are and how they can apply to the future of gaming. It's a really important video that I hope you take a look at. But just to kind of summarize how this affects us is that NFTs will give us the ability to invest in future video games. So understanding the importance of IP will help you identify the video games that you yourself can possibly invest in. And this goes up more than just investing. This can also help you identify the video games that will be fun to play. So I have a really cool example that I cannot wait to share with you. So let's get into it. So let me introduce you guys to Clementine's Nightmare. Now they are developing AAA video game that is building a hero battler game that is going to be completely free to play. Now what's really cool about Clementine's Nightmare is they're combining three different genres of video games, which are the auto battlers, the collectible card games, and RPGs. Now these are three genres of video games that I think have really interesting merits. Let's start with the auto battlers. You know, auto battlers like Teamfight Tactics. Now what's really cool about Teamfight Tactics is the animations that it plays as you strategize your moves. I really like how all the different character models actually interact when they're attacking or defending each other. Now as for collectible card games, you can think of Yu-Gi-Oh, Hearthstone, you know, there's a bunch of them, but what I love about them is the strategy. The strategy component is crazy in these video games because there's so many different cards, so many different decks you can build. It adds different layers to the complexity of the video game. So every different player can really come up with their own strategy, their own style of playing the video game. So this is really a genre of video game that I enjoy playing. And of course then you have RPGs, which are absolutely amazing. I love the freedom that they give. You know, something like The Witcher 3 or Skyrim, these games are absolutely amazing that I really enjoyed playing. So combining all these three elements, I'm really curious to see the game that will actually be created. So I'm watching very closely, and keep in mind this game is still early in its development, so I'm very eager to see the type of game that they will be creating. So Clementine's Nightmare has described their world as whimsical, macabre. So you can think of Nightmare Before Christmas or Harry Potter, right? These are fantasy worlds with a little dash of dark humor. I mean, think of Harry Potter, some pretty messed up stuff goes on in that world. So they kind of want this game to relate to the kids, but also be relatable to the older adults, you know, a more mature audience. So I really enjoy the take that they're going with it. And on top of that, I'm kind of sucker for, you know, games that really utilize this whole fantasy world. So what I like about Clementine's Nightmare is that they are very focused on their world building, on their character building. And I'm gonna give some examples right here. So let's start with their characters. So here on the Clementine's website, we can see some of the characters that they have in development. These are the characters that will be in-game. And what I want you guys to pay attention to is just how unique they all look. You can just kind of imagine the abilities and the skills that they will have based off their concept art alone. Clementine's Nightmare has a really talented team of developers and artists, and they've been working on this for quite some time. There are over 40 different characters that I highly recommend you guys check out. And you know, each of these are just so unique. Like this guy right here, you know, his name is Farrell. He's going to be a necromancer kind of, you know, character. And here we have Scavenge. He's kind of like a berserker class, you know, like a beast kind of monster, focusing on strength, on speed. So you can kind of see that all these characters are really interesting, and they help build out the world and make it come alive. You don't want the video game characters to be very one-dimensional, you know. You want them to have personalities, different traits, you know, and actually stand out. Just like how I was talking about Mario earlier, you know, or Link or Donkey Kong, they're really unique, and something that makes them special. And with some of the characters in Clementine's here, I can kind of see some huge potential in the development of all these IPs. And now let's get into the story building, the world building. You know, Clementine's Nightmare actually released a 4-part series, like a mini story on the world of Clementine's Nightmare. I'll leave the links down below in the description, so make sure you guys go ahead and check it out. But what the story essentially shows is that it kind of puts all these different characters not just as arts, but gives them backstories, gives them personalities, and fit them into the story, so all of them really have a place. You know, some video games really kind of just put in a character, just kind of fill in the space, and you don't really care what happens to this character. You know, they can actually be killed off for all you care. You know, they didn't really make an impression, and I feel like Clementine's Nightmare is making a point to actually give each of these characters a purpose. So this is really exciting because I have not seen a video game as adventurous that's building as Clementine's Nightmare for quite some time. So here's where it gets pretty cool, because part of the team working on the art, on the marketing of Clementine's Nightmare is Petrolad. Now, if you haven't heard of Petrolad, don't be surprised, because honestly, I haven't either before I looked them up. So you see, Petrolad is essentially a marketing company really focused on the visual, on the art, on the IP of all these different video games. And right here, you can see some of their portfolio. I'm just gonna scroll down here really quickly. You can see right here, we have Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Mortal Kombat. I'm scrolling down. Ooh, we have Sekiro, Dragon Ball, Plants vs. Zombie. You know, these are games that really blew up in popularity. And based off what I got when I was researching them, Clementine's Nightmare is actually the very first product that they're actually developing originally. All these other IPs I actually brought to them, and they help with the art, help with the marketing, but Clementine's Nightmare, they're starting it from scratch. So this is really exciting, and I cannot wait to see what they do with the IP of Clementine's Nightmare. Oh, and of course, we can't forget that this is a video game, right? So you're gonna want really good video game developers. Well, Clementine's Nightmare is currently being worked on by BigRedButton, which is a development studio that has really vast experience in the gaming world. Now, just to kind of take a look here at some of the history, some of the projects that they actually work with. They have worked for Santa Monica Studios. This is the gaming studio that built God of War, a game that I really like. I cannot wait for the next one, God of War Ragnarok, so keep your eye out for that one. As well, we have Sega here, EA, Sony, so you get the idea, right? Really cool stuff. They have really vast experience, and they have the expertise to actually execute on these huge AAA video games. And on top of that, the CEO of BigRedButton actually worked on the original IP for Naughty Dog, for Crash Bandicoot. I don't know if you guys recall this, I was a PlayStation 1 fan and I played a lot of Crash Bandicoot, and he was a really iconic character in the PlayStation and Sony series. You know, they have spanned plenty of games just like Mario. You can think of Crash Bandicoot as the Sony version of Mario for Nintendo. So Crash Bandicoot was kind of a big deal, and to know that he had experience working on Crash Bandicoot on IP of this video game, you can just see why I'm so bullish on Clementine's Nightmare. So now back to the discussion of IPs in video games. Just taking a look at how Clementine's is building, you can see that they're really focused on developing the IP, the brand, you know, all these characters. You know, there's 40 different ones of them, and you can think that, you know, these video games, if it really becomes popular, they can go on to become action figures in their own animated series, comics, animations, you name it. Building the brand, building the IP IP, making that whole video game actually something that people remember and people that can relate to. That is really key to making a successful video game. At least that's what I believe, and that's what attracts me to video games. Because when I go into a video game, I'm not going into it to, just live out my everyday life. I want fantasy, I want crazy stuff, give me everything that I don't see in real life. I want to escape into this world, and I want to have a good time playing the video games and enjoying my time spent in this virtual worlds. So I want the characters to be relatable, I want the world to be real. That is really what I look for in video games. And if you feel the same way as me, don't forget to smash that like button, because you are just like me, you are a gamer at heart, and I want to connect with you. So if everything you've heard up to this point excites you and makes sense to you, I do have a recommendation. If you're a gamer like me and you want to be around more similar-minded people, curious about the development of Web3, curious about the development of the blockchain and how it affects video games, go ahead and check out this thing of ours. I'm gonna leave the links to the Discord down below, so get in while you can, because I heard they're going private very soon. And on top of that, the founder of this thing of ours, Hustlepedia, he's the host on Crypto Banter, a YouTube channel that I enjoy watching. He actually gave me some whitelit spots that I'm giving away right now on my Twitter page. So make sure you go ahead, follow me at TheNerdy1 and check out my pinned tweet to know how to get entered in it. So I hope you guys get a better idea of why IP in video games are so important for the future of video games. You see, with the current emergence of NFTs, it actually gives us, the regular gamers, an option to invest in future video games. Now, I'm not telling you to invest in Clementine's Nightmare or random video games, but what I'm trying to tell you is that there's a developing tech and there are really experienced teams building out these video games. So what that means to you is that if you're able to identify the video games that will be fun, that will be enjoyed by the masses, that will actually be used, right, in a mainstream way, that is actually a huge investment opportunity to you. And that is why understanding what makes a great video game, IP, world building, character building, that's really what makes the heart, the core of these video games. And then you have to also make sure that the fun comes into it. And that is why I'm looking forward to the gameplay that Clementine's Nightmare will put out. Until I do see some gameplay, I will remain skeptical. But once the gameplay is out and it looks really, really good, you can bet that Clementine's Nightmare is well set to take over the world. So if you guys like this project just like me, make sure you go ahead and like the video as well as subscribe to my channel, because I will be bringing updates on this project as well as many other different video games. And on top of that, I just want you guys to be educated about the space, because there's so many opportunities, not just as a gamer but an investor as well, and I want you guys to be along for this ride. Now, if you want to follow me on Twitter to communicate with me, make sure you follow me at TheNerdy1. Don't forget, I have a giveaway happening right now on my pinned tweet, so make sure to check that out. I really want to build a whole community of gamers, so go ahead and check me out. Let's go ahead and have a great time playing video games. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys again very soon, and until the very next one, take care. Peace.